4-4-1-1 full tactic guide. This formation has helped me get consistent back-to-back-to-back rank ones after the patch. As you are seeing, it is very nice for having space and build up passing. Before we get into the tactic, I need you guys to listen. I know most people just want to copy a tactic and play, but trust me, tactics will not magically make you the best in the world, but what will help is understanding the patterns, what to look for in game, and overall how to maximize the use of the formation alongside the basic mechanics of the game. If you want to get in the basics, let me know. But today, 4-4-1-1, I have a few different variations that I have used, and I will explain the differences so that you can get an idea of what you think fits you best, alongside in-game examples to understand each of the rules. So without further ado, let's get into it. First variation that we will go over is setups with balanced build-up style and balanced defensive approach, keeping it very simple. As you can see, we have the striker on advanced forward, the cam on shadow striker, our right mid and left mid on inside forward, one center mid on holding, the other center mid on box to box, fullbacks on fullback defend, the center backs on defender, and the goalie on sweeper keeper. This is a pretty standard setup. You've probably seen it before. Typically what I prefer to start with, and it allows me to get a feel in most games. I will say, of the different players I've used, you will notice some differences, especially on players that actually have the role versus those without it. So as you can see with this current team, my left mid and right mid don't have inside forward roles. I was still able to perform, get rank 1, but you will notice some differences in runs when I play on my other accounts where I do have a player with the role, especially at left mid and right mid. They'll get into the pocket at times a bit better or faster. In some cases, the non-roll can be nice, but as you play, you'll get used to the runs the players are making. But now, before we move on to in-game examples and explain these roles and how they work off of one another, let me show you a few different variations that I have been switching between and trying. The first variation change that you can look to make is switching this to 70 depth from 50. I believe this gives you those auto offside traps from your back line. Personally, when I'm on 50 depth, I offside trap on my own anyways, but this can help with closing space for you around the top of the box, especially if you're struggling to defend. You'll press up the field a bit better as well, but I would be a bit careful on any counter through balls, as we know that is a very popular playstyle at the moment. The thing with 70 depth sometimes though, is if you are able to force your opponent into mistakes up the field, this can be really nice and sometimes not even allow them to get the ball to their cam who they're looking to start their counter with. I have heard and been seeing this new 95 depth thing being apparently very crazy. I have not experienced it yet, haven't tried it. I'll have to test it and report back to you guys, see if it affects stamina and if I'm getting countered too much. But for now, I have tested 70 and I have tested 50. Kind of depends how comfortable you are maybe with your player switching, so feel free to give both a try. Now, in terms of different instructions that I sometimes use, for the box-to-box center mid, sometimes I've used this player on Playmaker. Originally, when I was getting rank 1, I was using Playmaker at first. Then I decided one time to switch to box because the player I was using there did not have Playmaker roles, and I actually started to prefer box to box. When you do use Playmaker, they will be more involved going forward, and they'd still come back to defend. But for me, box to box felt a bit more balanced on both sides of the ball, and I liked it a bit better in the build-up. But if you want to push forward more in your attack, feel free to try this player on Playmaker. Now, for the holding center mid, you can consider running box to box, meaning having two players on box to box, or playing one box to box, one Playmaker. This will give you a lot more options when attacking and going up the field, which can be really nice, but I would be a bit careful in that you may get countered a bit more. I also know some other variations. People prefer having this cam on Playmaker. Personally, I prefer it on Shadow Striker because in the final third, they'll get more involved into the box. Something I recently have been trying is deep lying Playmaker, and you put it to defend. So this is actually a really interesting one. I noticed on defense, it actually felt like they were sitting much further back than when I had them on holding, which may be nice in defending and moving around to give you a passing option when trying to work the ball from the back, but they really will not be anywhere near the attack, or at least very, very delayed. And especially if you're trying to like press up the field when you lose the ball, they're going to be a little bit deeper compared to what you may be used to with holding. Something I need to do a little bit more testing on, but it can definitely be a viable option, something you might want to try out. So feel free to try making some changes based on your style of play and based on the players you have. But now to get into attacking in the formation. So the first thing I'm going to highlight is the cam that we have on Shadow Striker. You will notice they make runs into the box to help support in the attack. They will go wide at times to find space and create easy passes. You can see how I facilitate this attack all the way from the midfield with Neymar, who is my cam. This then leads to some simple passes and a very easy tap and goal, all beginning with Neymar from the middle of the field. You're able to play this player in behind at times, and overall this player is always looking to find space in the attack, so this will be a very noticeable player in building up your attacks. Do not be afraid to utilize sending your cam forward with L1 or LB to allow them to go ahead of your striker. Again, this player is constantly looking to find space and create attacks, so you really want to be aware of where this player is on the pitch. You can see here, Cruyff is at cam, and he is able to find some space after we previously sent him forward. We're able to find an easy ball in behind and eventually capitalize with a nice finish. Now, the most broken or easiest way to attack in this formation is to just utilize the wings constantly and look for those inside passes across the box. This is very easy and really, really effective. I'm going to show you a few examples, some with small differences in them, but overall, the main thing we are seeing is finding that inside pass after finding space down the wing. Sometimes, if your opponent is trying to heavily guard that pass, you just need to be patient before playing it, and I will show you here in a second some other things we can do to get the ball into these dangerous positions while making it hard for our opponent to stop. Oftentimes, we will find our opposite side outside mid open when working it across, where you will notice a diagonal run coming between the fullback and the center back, so that is something to pay lots of attention to. This happens so frequently, especially because we are using that inside forward. And so you will have this pass open very, very often. And even sometimes this is where you may find your center mid open on a pass as well. Again, very easy and simple to do. But if you get into a game where this is being watched a lot, then you can begin to look to recycle it back to the center mid or cam around the edge of the box. I will show you a few examples here in a second of this, but first, just to reiterate, we're finding that inside pass and we're always staying aware of the outside mid that is coming from the opposite side for that last pass. And this does not mean you always have to pass it either, depending on how the opponent is defending, but rather giving you another option to choose to pass to. But as you are seeing in these examples, it is often left unguarded and super open. As you see here in this example, rather than eventually forcing the side pass from the wing, we are going to look to the center mid to recycle, where eventually we're able to still get to that inside pass for an easy finish. So just be patient. You can then also start to look to bait the side pass. As you see in these next two examples, where we instead go forward with the ball rather than looking to make the pass, oftentimes your opponent is really expecting the pass. So if we have space to go forward, we can look off the side pass and just take the space in front of us. As you're going to see here, I have the ball with Smolarek and use the side pass as bait, and then I create a very easy chance to score. A nice thing you can also do is look to play the ball back the way you started rather than only going one way. There's no need to force the pass. As you see, I stay patient, rework the ball back before finding my entry pass for an easy goal. Again, you're going to see I work the ball across, but then bring it all the way back to the same side that I started on. Very, very simple goal. So again, the big thing with this, just be patient. You can find those easy inside passes. But now, before we get into the best part, quickly we will take a look at our striker. If we can find the ball to his feet a lot of the times, you can just speed boost in behind for easy chances or find him on some nice through ball runs. Overall though, if you noticed, in some of the other sections, the striker is heavily involved once we are around the box, whether it be finding that extra pass or taking the chance with him when we have the space. Now, for one of my favorite things about the formation, it is that box-to-box center mid, or the center mid you are using going forward to score easy chances. And you will see here in a moment, just having them forward enough to be a quick recycle passing option who can then find that next big attacking pass to keep the attack flowing forward is really helpful. I will say, if you did not notice before from the second and third clip before we got into tactics, as well as some that we are currently seeing now, you'll see the way Zizou ends up going into the box, but especially on one of those late, very disguised runs. So pay attention for those runs from your center mid. Do not be afraid to utilize your center mid going forward, even at times finding them in behind. Getting them involved moving forward leads to mismatches and your opponent being overwhelmed. So as you're seeing in these scenarios, a lot of the chances being created are very easy. Again, utilize that center mid to make runs, be an attacking option, can be really, really helpful. Having them to be a recycle option to find that next big pass is also something that is really helpful for creating chances. But again, overall, to reiterate, we have two center mids, so don't be scared to get one of them more involved, especially if you are struggling with creating chances. If that is not the case, or it's late in a game, you can be a bit more cautious with that center mid. You don't have to force them overly going forward, but as you can see in some of these examples, I'm able to recycle the ball to the center mid and then find an inside pass. You can see Bonmati here gets involved in the box and just allows for that easy extra pass. And so again, get that center mid involved. Don't be scared. The more you do it, you'll get used to it, and it can really, really, really help with creating more attacking opportunities. And again, you're seeing we get that late run, easy extra pass, free goal. Now, a nice thing about this formation is you can really apply pressure up the field. When you win the ball, you often can create an easy chance within 1 to 2 passes, as you see in some of these examples, creating simple chances. Just because we have our fullbacks on defend does not mean we can't get them involved. You can send them forward manually by tapping L1 or LB when looking at them, or just naturally pull them forward, which you can see me using in these examples to create number mismatches. Keeping things varied will allow your attack to be less predictable, meaning more chances. Overall, this formation gives us the option to really facilitate passing attacks. As we're about to see in these next few examples, we're able to work the ball around, create scoring chances, as well as having enough space if you want to be a dribbler. You want to wiggle cook someone in the box, which I often like to do, then you can do that. If you want to keep it more simple, then we can also do that. You can see here in these next two examples, I'm able to start all the way from the back and just work my way up the field with so many passing options without doing anything crazy special, but just allowing my runs to develop. Be patient, utilize the attacking runs, and find the extra passes to create simple chances. And overall, just get used to the patterns that continue to happen each time you play. Hopefully these examples and this explanation has helped you to understand the attacking in the formation. Defensively, tips I would give you are to try to win the ball up the field if you are comfortable, especially with your player switching. Otherwise, when the ball is in your own half, try to get the center mids back to help defend. Try not to pull anyone out of position, especially center backs. Be aware of the opponent's attacking threats and try to assess what would be the most dangerous or difficult option to guard and try to take that option away. If you want a full defensive guide, let me know, and that is something that I can make. If you made it this far, I hope this guide has helped provide you with some insight here. And if there's anything specific you have a question with, feel free to ask below. Otherwise, if there is interest, I can put together some guides surrounding the basics up into the more advanced things within the game that can help you to take things to the next level. But as always, stay wiggly.